My family came to visit me in my posting city 4 years into my ambassadorship. It was the first time they had visited since my appointment. I had been in this role for 4 years, living and working in a country I will not name specifically, representing the United States government in an official diplomatic capacity that came with a residence, a staff, a protocol function, and a title that is used in particular ways in particular settings. They had not visited earlier because travel was expensive and complicated, and because, honestly, the nature of my work had not made the visit feel straightforward. The visits I had made home over those 4 years had been the normal kind, me returning, fitting back into the family, not performing the professional context. This was different. My sister-in-law organized the trip. She found the flights, booked the accommodation. They were not staying at the residence, which was a decision I had not pushed back on, and sent me a detailed itinerary 3 weeks before arrival. I did not brief them extensively before they came. I explained, when they asked, that my work involved diplomatic representation, that I had an official residence, that there were some events they might be able to attend. I used the word ambassador in this explanation. My family heard the word and filed it. I think they heard it as a title for a category of government work. A senior position? Yes, but one of many senior positions in a large bureaucratic structure. Not fundamentally different in texture from the other positions they had imagined me occupying over 14 years. What they had not imagined was the dinner. My name is Catherine. I have been a Foreign Service officer for 18 years and an ambassador, currently serving my second posting for 6. The career path is long and specific and involves a series of examinations and postings and language requirements and performance evaluations that filter a very large number of applicants down to a much smaller number of officers, and from those officers, a still smaller number who reach the senior levels at which ambassadorial appointments become. POSSIBLEI. Passed the Foreign Service exam at 24. I spent my first 3 years in entry-level positions. I did the work. I got the assignments. I learned the languages. I built the record that the career requires. My family understood that I worked for the State Department. They understood that this involved travel. They understood, vaguely, that the work was related to international things of some kind. They did not understand what it actually was, or what it had become, because I had explained it in the way that people who do complicated things explain them to family members who are not specifically curious, in the broad strokes, without the detail that would have made the picture clear. And there was also the specific challenge of the diplomatic world, which operates on a level of international visibility that is entirely invisible to domestic audiences. My name appeared in newspapers in the country where I was posted. My counterparts at other embassies knew who I was. The foreign ministry I worked with knew who I was. My family, in a city in the American Midwest, did not read those newspapers. The dinner happened on the 3rd evening of their visit. I had arranged it carefully, and with awareness of what it would likely reveal, because there was an official function that week that I needed to attend and that I thought would be, if nothing else, a genuine experience for my family to see once. The function was a working dinner hosted by the foreign minister of the country where I was posted. It was a regular diplomatic gathering, perhaps 40 guests, a mix of ambassadors from various countries, senior officials from the host government, and a small number of invited guests including my family. I had explained to my family that we would be attending an official dinner. I had told them what to wear. I had told them it would be formal. What I had not fully explained was the specific protocol of diplomatic dinners, or the particular way that I would be received upon arrival, or the title that would be used in that context. We arrived at the venue together, my parents, my brother and his wife, my sister, and me. I had a car and a driver, which I had also not fully explained was a standard feature of the role. My brother had made a comment when he saw the car on our first day that I would interpret as the beginning of his reassessment, but he had moved past it without pushing. At the entrance to the venue, we were received by the protocol staff, protocol staff at these events are very precise about. Titles. It is their function to be precise. They receive guests. They announce arrivals in certain settings. They manage the seating and the introductions with a care for form that is specific to this world. The head of protocol saw me approach and said, in a clear voice, Ambassador Harrison, welcome. The minister is looking forward to seeing you, my brother. Walking beside me, stopped moving for a half step. I said, thank you. These are my family. They're visiting, she said. Of course. Welcome, everyone. The ambassador's table is set for 6. The ambassador's table. The foreign minister found me within the first 15 minutes of the dinner. He was a man in his early 60s, experienced with the particular quality of warmth that practiced diplomats develop, genuine in its substance but controlled in its expression. The warmth of someone who understands that warmth is also a professional tool. He came to my table. He greeted me with the specific formality that his position required and mine reflected. He said, Madam Ambassador, we are very glad you could join us this evening. And I understand your family is visiting. I said, yes, Minister. May I introduce my parents, my brother and sister-in-law, and my sister. He turned to my family with the full attention of a man who understood that these were people connected to someone he worked with and that they deserved his genuine regard. He shook hands. He said appropriate things about the beauty of the city and the pleasure of hosting visitors. And then he said, to my mother, I think because she was closest to him and because she had the expression of someone who was processing something significant, he said, your daughter is one of the finest ambassadors we have had the privilege of working with. She has done remarkable work here. My mother said, thank you. A pause. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I understand. When you say ambassador, the minister looked at her with the polite attention of someone registering an unexpected question. He said, the United States ambassador to this country. Your daughter has served in this role for 4 years. Before that, I understand, a posting in another region. My mother looked at me. My father, sitting next to her, looked at me. My brother, across the table, looked at me. My sister, to my left, was already looking at me. She had been watching my face since we arrived. She had been putting things together in real time, the car, the protocol staff, the title, the seating, and she had already arrived somewhere close to the answer before the minister confirmed it. I looked at my mother. I said, we can talk later. The minister, reading the room with the practiced skill of a diplomat, said something gracious about families and the difficulties of explaining government work and excused himself smoothly. My family sat at that dinner for 3 hours. They watched me work. That is the only way I know how to describe it. Diplomatic dinners are work. The conversation is the work. The relationships are the work, the specific quality of attention and engagement that you bring to every person you speak with is the work. I moved through the room and I did the thing I have been doing for 18 years. And my family watched it happen with the expressions of people who are seeing something that does not fit any picture they previously had. My mother later told me that watching me speak with the Chinese ambassador, a conversation that lasted about 8 minutes, in a language she did not recognize, was the moment she understood that the 14 years of phone calls and updates and vague explanations had left her with approximately 10% of the actual picture. My brother told me later that when the protocol officer had said the ambassador's table, he had thought for a moment that it was a mistake, that they had gotten confused with someone else. Then he had looked at my face and realized it was not a mistake. My father said nothing significant that evening. He watched. He ate. He was quiet in the way he is quiet when he is thinking carefully and is not yet ready to speak. After the dinner, in the car on the way back, there was a silence that lasted about 3 minutes. My sister broke it. She said, Catherine, how long have you been an ambassador? I said, 6 years, 2 postings, she said, and before that, I said, 12 years as a foreign service officer. she said. And you? I thought you worked for the State Department in some, I said. I do work for the State Department, she said. As an ambassador, I said. Yes, my mother said. Why didn't you tell us? I said, I told you I worked in diplomacy. I told you I had a senior role. My mother said, you said government work. You said international. I said, those are accurate descriptions. My brother said, Catherine, the foreign minister of a country, just told Mom that you're one of the finest ambassadors he's worked with. There is a gap between government work, international and that. I said, yes, there is, he said. Why the gap? This is the question I have thought about most. The honest answer is that I was protecting something, and I am not entirely sure what. Partly it was practical. Ambassadorial appointments involve security considerations that make broadcasting the role in casual personal settings inadvisable. Partly it was the same thing I think many people in demanding high visibility careers experience, the desire for spaces where you are not the role, where you are just Catherine, the daughter, the sister, the person at the table. The role is very large. The spaces where it is absent become precious. But partly, and this is the part I am most honest about when I am being honest with myself, it was about the specific difficulty of explaining a career that has no domestic parallel my family could easily access. How do you describe what an ambassador actually does to people who understand work in terms of their own categories? I had tried in the early years, and the explanations had not landed in ways that felt accurate. And at some point, I had stopped trying to make them land and had settled for the broad strokes. The broad strokes were true. They were just not complete. My father came to find me the next morning. I was at my desk early, habit, and also because there were things that needed attention regardless of family visits. He knocked and came in and sat in the chair across from my desk. He looked at the room, the official furnishings, the flag, the particular features of an ambassadorial office that signal what it is. He said, 14 years. I said, yes. He said, I told your uncle at his retirement party that you had a stable government job, that you traveled too much, but it was stable. I said, that's not inaccurate. He said, Catherine. I said, Dad. He said, I don't know how to say this exactly. I'm proud, obviously, but I'm also, he stopped. I feel like I missed something. A long time of something. I said, you didn't miss it. I just didn't fully show it, he said. Why? I told him the honest answer. The protection, the separation, the difficulty of explanation. He listened to all of it. When I finished, he said, I would have wanted to know. I said, I understand that now. He said, would you have told me eventually, without the dinner? I thought about it honestly. I said, I think so. I hope so. But I don't know when. He nodded. He said, the foreign minister shook my hand last night. I said, he did. He said, he said something in that other language before he walked away. I said, he said it was a pleasure to meet the family of such a distinguished colleague. My father sat with that for a moment. Then he said, that'll do. What I want to leave you with is this. There are many ways to be invisible to the people who love you. Some of them are chosen deliberately. Some of them accumulate by default. Some of them serve real purposes. Some of them, over time, cost more than you intended to pay. I was not hiding my career from my family out of shame. I was not hiding it out of anger. I was hiding it out of a specific, complicated set of reasons that made sense to me, and that, when I finally examined them fully, revealed that some of them were no longer valid. The dinner made the conversation happen. The conversation was good. It was overdue. It changed things. I fly home 3 times a year now. My mother has started asking specific questions about the work. My brother has told me he is proud of me in a way that is clearly costing him something to say, which is exactly the right amount of effort for an older sibling compliment. My father keeps a photo on his wall, not the government identification type photo that exists from early in my career. A photo from the dinner, the one my sister-in-law took on her phone when no one was looking, of me talking to the foreign minister, my family in the background. He says it is the most accurate picture he has. I think he is right. Tell me in the comments, is there something about yourself that the people closest to you don't fully see? Is that a choice or did it happen without you deciding? I read every comment.